Good evening. We'll call the Hawarden, Iowa City Council to order on Wednesday, February 12, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. City Administrator Mike DeBryan is gone. Councilman Tim Kurth is also gone. Councilperson Jen Bergsma is with us with the teleconference. Just so everybody knows, we have tested it out and she can hear us wonderfully, and we can hear her comments also throughout the evening. Standard agenda item number 1A is the approval of the February 22, 2020 council meeting minutes. You have those in your packet. Is there a motion for their approval?
So moved.
It's been moved by Travis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by John. All in favor of the January 22nd city council meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next is approval of claims for payment. I'll start with Jen with questions.
I had one question about a new truck. Just kind of wondering what that was for.
Travis, you want to talk about the new truck?
Yep. That was a new Public Works pickup.
Okay.
It was in the capital equipment fund for this year.
Okay.
The old Public Works pickup is getting handed down to the wastewater.
Did you hear that okay, Jen?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from you, Jen?
Nope.
Okay. Rob, questions?
No questions.
John?
None, thank you.
Travis?
None, thank you. So moved.
There's been a motion by Travis. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Rob. All in favor of the approval of the February 12th claims for payment, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Open business from the community. Okay. Mayor's report. My thanks for many of your input about certain ordinances that our city have in place. I appreciate everyone's thoughts, as then we can look at our ordinances and maybe make them better. I also appreciate those that have given us their thoughts in a kindly manner. Appreciate it when you come in with your thoughts. Please don't take it out on the front office people. That's just give them your thoughts, and they'll pass them on to us. Thank you very much. Please take the opportunity to explore the many programs that are being offered at our local library. Also, please support our youth in their athletics, speech competition, and their studies. We wish for them success as they are in the postseason competition. And lastly, thanks to those that put together the trivia night for the trail lighting project. Appreciate all of those that contributed to the project that evening. We'll move to staff reports. Jacob, anything? You're going to talk a little bit more when we get to the public hearing.
Yep, I've just been working on the budget. We've got the max levy amount ready to go, so that's all I've got for right now.
Okay. Travis, Public Works Director.
I've got a couple save the dates. They're a ways away, but people like to get them on their calendar so they're ready for them. We've decided spring cleanup days are going to start Friday, May 1st. They'll run through Sunday, May 3rd, and that runs from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Hazardous household material drop-off, that'll be the following Friday, May 8th, from 1 to 4. Same location, which is a city street shop, 717 7th Street. And also, I've been working with DGR Engineering on our new GIS mapping system for all our utilities, storm drains, streets. We started by taking all our paper maps, loading them into GIS. The next step will be next week, we'll be doing some training for all the departments. They'll be able to add and expand to those maps. It'll include things that we didn't have on paper for them. Pictures can also be tied to the symbols on the maps, so they can take a picture of the transformer. So when they click on it, it'll show the transformer. Any manholes, they can open them up, look and see the flow, what size the pipes are. This will be especially nice for gas and water valves that get covered up in the yards. With the GPS portion, it'll allow us to get within 2 centimeters of where those are, so they'll be able to go out and find them in the winter or in the summer when they're covered up. So pretty excited about getting that rolling.
Thank you. That hazardous waste is, everything is great, but the hazardous waste thing, opportunity to get rid of your paints and things, the whole bucket goes.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's free to the public.
Great. Larry?
Busy couple of weeks. Been working a lot with Northwest Iowa Development. Also have a lot of local meetings, We Care, the library, Sioux Land, Habitat for Humanity, and also our revolving loan fund committee. More about that later. Also met with our supervisor in our area over here. Right now, about 38 short-term clients and about 6 long-term clients we've continuing to work with. And last week, the revolving loan fund committee awarded $217,821 in loans for 3 different projects. I have met in the past few weeks with our facade grant writer and architect, and also we're researching some downtown banners for one of the local committees, looking at putting banners on the downtown poles. Teleconference with USDA on some rural development housing programs that they have. We continue our work on the census, getting the word out about census and about how important it is to the community. Of course, conducted an interview with the local papers. That was in last weekend's paper. And that's pretty much everything. So,
Okay. A lot going on.
yes.
Thank you very much. Corey, Chief of Police.
A couple things, starting to get excited. We're almost halfway through February, and nuisance abatement time is coming back up, so I'm glad Travis hit a little bit on the cleanup dates. Make sure you jot that down on your calendars. We really want to go extra hard this spring and get everybody up to par, and I just know the harder we work at it, the easier it's going to be. A couple other things that are going on. Obviously, it looks like we're going to have snow tonight and maybe again Monday night. Remember our snow removal ordinances, stuff like that, get the vehicles off the street if there's any snow whatsoever. And I think I'll yield until later on.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Pickner?
I don't have anything to report.
Nothing from Mr. Pickner, Jen.
I heard him.
Thank you. Council comments, please. Okay. We'll move on to agenda item number 3. 3A is a public hearing on the proposed fiscal 2021 maximum budget. Let me just read this from Mike. This is part of the new law for government entities to follow when going through the budgeting process. This is meant to create transparency in the budget process. The max budget is the maximum amount we are looking at levying on the properties of the city. Once we pass this amount, we cannot go over this amount. We can go under, but not over. We feel this would be the maximum amount we would need to levy for fiscal year 21, 14.81501. Obviously, we're working on the city council, our members here, to maybe keep it down to the current level of 14.5916. Jacob, as a financial director, do you have any other enlightening parts about this new law?
Okay, so the only thing I want to reiterate is the fact that if we pass this, we can still make adjustments and go down, but the main thing about passing this is we cannot go up from that. So this is basically saying that these are the max amounts that we can levy for property taxes for the general government programs, and everything within the city that is general government does not include the utilities. And that is what that dollar amount would go against towards per thousand. So per $1,000 of your valuation, it would cost you $14.81 currently, and we're potentially looking at cuts to get it back down to 14.59, which is what we were at last year. And I mean, since we're above the 2% mark there, we do need a supermajority vote to pass this max levy, which would be 4 out of 5 tonight. And if you guys have any questions about any of these dollar amounts and what they are, I can explain them a little bit further.
Okay.
By passing this doesn't necessarily pass the budget for this year, it just passes the
Absolutely
maximum
not.
levy.
This
Right.
is actually just an additional step now. We have to pass this before we can even set a public hearing for the budget. This is just passing the maximum amount of dollars that we can levy from people's property taxes to go into our budget. So it's just a portion of our budget.
Which would be, the maximum would be a 3.49% increase.
Increase from last year.
Okay. That being said, I will open the public hearing in the proposed fiscal year 2021 maximum budget. We've heard some discussion in that regard. This has been out in print since we have gotten our packet out on the website, since we've gotten our packet. No one from the public is here. Has anyone, from your understanding, contacted the city office in regards to this? Anyone wish to make comment in the public hearing? Hearing no comments for the public hearing, I will close that, which leads us then to the resolution 2020-07, which is the adoption of the fiscal year 2021 maximum budget. Is there a motion for that resolution?
So moved.
Been moved by John. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. I will call for a roll call vote, please, for Resolution 2020-07, the adoption of the fiscal year 2021 maximum budget.
Feldhacker.
Aye.
Clunky.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Bergsma.
Aye.
On a 4-0 roll call vote, Resolution 2020-07, adoption of the fiscal year maximum budget passes. Thank you for that discussion and clarification. That moves us then to discussion of the fiscal year 21 general fund and utility budgets. The last number of weeks we have been discussing the budget review. If we were in hopes of keeping it at the same levy, we would have to find at this point about $12,000 of budget reduction. Is that my understanding?
12,100. Yes.
12,100. So I am going to open it up to the council members for discussion and see what your wishes are. It's in our packet. You also have those maybe in paper as I do from last time. And then if there are discussions with that, if there's a wish to make those changes, we will direct staff to, if we find to be in majority tonight, to make those changes. That will be done. And then at our next meeting, we will set the public hearing for passing the budget. And that public hearing then would be March the 11th. Any discussion on the budget at this point?
There's a lot of different ways we could obviously split this, so I'll just throw out some of the ideas I've looked at. But right now, to come up with the 12-1, which we'd be slightly over, I looked at $5,000 or possible $5,000 reductions in both the Chamber and Historical Society, moving the helipad and any of the expenses there over to the hospital, which would be $300. $1,000 from the Streets Building Maintenance Fund, and looking at possibly reducing the fire and ambulance run fees by $500 apiece. Just because we did increase that pretty high on this year's budget. So that's just some thoughts I had.
Jacob, on the fire run fees, significantly, it went up by what, $5,000?
Yeah.
Is that because they have more this year than, or how is that? Because I'm looking at past history there, and I'm not seeing anywhere close to that myself. That was one area I looked at as well.
Correct. It was due to an increase of more calls, and it was judging it off of this year's. They're going to surpass their 12,000 that they budgeted for this year by quite a bit. So I believe that we came to a somewhat rough estimate that 20,000 would be a safe number to put in there, just to make sure that we could cover any increases any further.
Thank you.
But also to add on to that a little bit more, there's another revenue line up there for the fire services as well, for the 2,500, and that kind of goes out for some of the billings that they're now doing for these fires. That was there to kind of counter some of the increase.
But they're trying to get some insurance money back, is that correct?
Correct.
On structural fires? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I was strongly encouraged by a couple individuals to bring that 12,000 down to keep the levy at the same rate. So they weren't strictly opposed to it, but definitely encouraged us to sharpen our pencils a little bit and kind of find where that can come from. So I think Travis made some good recommendations. I think some of those run fees we can look at. And the one item would be the planning. I know we started putting some of those expected maintenance or replacement fees in. Not that we have to take all of that out, but we can maybe review those a little bit. Not to take 5% out of each, but if there's a little bit give and take in each one of those, it'd be nice to know what's available.
Jen, do you have thoughts in regards to the budget?
Yeah, I agree with John. You know, taking it out, looking at maybe those extra savings that we did for those other capital expenses that we were anticipating.
Okay. Would you be in agreement with Travis's thoughts?
Yeah, I think I could do that. I like the idea of maybe keeping it even between all of the contributions.
A few of you guys sat on the chamber board as well, or committee. Have they been approached on, reducing that, and by how much?
Tonight's the first time any of this, numbers have been thrown out at all.
Because we're looking to approve a budget, so I know the Historical Society, I think, has been, because Tim is obviously on both, but, and then some of the other things we were looking at, reducing the dollar amount, but I don't know that anybody's reached out to them personally yet.
I don't think that the chamber has been approached that may be a possibility.
So,
That being said, I don't know that they're, if they'd be capable of making up some of that deficit maybe in the due structure. I don't believe in their
I don't know.
due structure that they've changed in the last 4 years maybe, where they can put a little bit more, correct words, not the burden, but put a little more monetary on the membership of the chamber. Jacob, do you have something to say? Okay.
I don't have anything to add right
Okay.
now.
I guess my suggestion would be do the 5 with the Historical Society, do half of that with the chamber now, maybe up to 3, then do another cut next year if we need to. At least they can start working to increase their membership cost, and that would be what I would suggest anyway. The rest of the money, I would take it out of the some of those building funds that we've increased. Personally, is what I would suggest we do with that, and reduce those numbers down a little bit in each of those line items. And the $100 is, the helipad was one of those too. So
I'd just like to let council know I went through some historical expenditures for the police department, and I'm able to make another 1,500 in cuts. If that helps out.
We'll accept that. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. So would the consensus then be if we visited with staff again to look at numbers for the chamber? I think you mentioned asking not 5, but maybe at 3,000?
maybe this year, and then look at
And look at
another
it again to see.
next year
See
again.
how that gets adjusted with them. Historical Society, 5.
I personally would like to see them cut the same, because I have a hard time looking in the face of either committee and say,
Understandable.
yours is more important than
Okay.
the other in the community.
So let's say we did that for 3, work on a helipad. We talked, Corey had mentioned 1,500 from the police. Then Mike and Jacob look at some of the building fund types of planning. Is that agreeable with council at this point? Anything I've missed?
Last, oh, sorry.
Yes, Jen?
I said I agree.
Okay.
Last meeting, we talked about the street lighting fund. You know, that could come down a little bit too, 500 or 1,000.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, because
Yep.
a lot of those has gotten replaced, right?
We're
So-
sitting really good. It's just a little bit ones and twos here and there, so
Yeah.
I'd be comfortable with that as well, so.
Okay, so you and Jacob and Mike talk when Mike gets back on Monday, and Corey puts his part in there, and then disseminate those new numbers to the council members
Yep.
electronically, and any further discussion with that? Okay, thank you for council and staff for your diligence in working on the budget process. It's very important. We'll move on to agenda item number 5. This is the approval of the pay request number 5 to Hogan Construction for the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $276,567. And as usual, we've seen all the invoices. Our engineer has signed off on it. Hugendorn signed off on it. Is there a motion for that approval for pay request number 5?
So moved.
Moved by Rob. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor of the pay request number 5 to Hogan Construction, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 4-0. We're next at discussion of designating a school stop at the Hawarden Elementary School. I'll pass this to Corey, please.
All right. So first off, what is a school stop? We have it in our ordinance that the city council can designate basically the area where kids are picked up in front of the schools. Like, for example, the high school, if you're there in the morning or in the afternoon, they roll out a stop sign. It gets everybody to stop, and kids get dropped off and picked up in that area. We don't have that luxury in front of the elementary school right now, and we've been having issues with double parking and, you know, little kids jumping out in front of the cars. We've been putting the buses over in the community center parking lot, and it's been hectic, and both Travis Popkin and I are to the point where we know something bad is going to happen at some point. So we're with spring coming up and the lines will need to be painted and everything like that. We thought, what a great time to try to figure out a way to at least solve the issue or make the flow of traffic easier for everybody. So if you can see on the diagram there, basically it's the south side of the elementary school, or it would be 12th Street. Right now, the stop sign that we have at 12th Street and Avenue I is on the left-hand side, which by code is illegal. It needs to be on the right-hand side. So I've had people that live there call me and say, I have somebody running the stop sign. They send me a video, and I tell them there's nothing I can do. And, you know, pretty much it's just a courtesy if they stop for the most part. So we want to change the 12th Street area in the purple and the orange back to a bidirectional flow of traffic and basically make it 12th Street again. You can see where the diagonal parking is right now in front of the school. We would look to move that away. Pretty much staff is the only one that parks there right now. And then there's a couple of handicap zones. But we would put our buses back in front of the school there to get them out of the community center parking area so parents could park over there in that area and let their kids walk safely along the sidewalk and then enter the parking lot. Right now we have kids that are darting out where you can see those buses are, trying to get to parents that are parked in the blue, parked in the purple, parked in the orange, and it's very hectic. We would designate that blue area to staff handicap parking. I just threw a couple cars in there at angles to show it'd be a one-way entrance from the west side, and then staff and visitors could park there and use that north-south white line as your basically your crosswalk there. You'll see in the middle of that crosswalk, there is a red hand there. That would basically be where we would put another stop sign like they have at the high school. So they would roll it out just like they do at the end of the day and the beginning of the day. And as parents drop their children off and pick them up, they can do that while they're stopped at that stop sign. Right now, we don't have anything to stop them, so we've had traffic backed all the way up into the intersection of 12th Street and Avenue I, and it just causes a lot of chaos. So this is very, very early on in the stage. There's nothing really that we need to pass. It's just seeking approval from the council to go forward with it, that, once we have a permanent plan designed, that it's something you guys would consider to be a school stop, and it would basically consist of everything on the west side where the crosswalk is on the west side of the building to the end of 12th Street where it meets Avenue I, where that left-handed stop sign is. And we would just designate that whole area as the school zone. And then the blue side would obviously just be a parking lot. But just kind of checking thoughts and any direction on it.
You have to help me out a little bit here. We're looking at the south side of the building,
Correct. We're looking at the south side of the building
where
right
this
now.
big parking lot is now.
Yes.
Okay.
Theoretically, it's all one big parking lot.
Right.
There's no street, there's no nothing.
Right.
There's, and I know if you look at some of the old pictures, I mean, they had arrows where you drive around and then do this little curly Q and then go back out the other way. And we have way too many people that don't even understand it. And where those two cars are parked in the purple, I'll have one car there, I'll have another car parked facing to the west in the yellow, and another one almost to the school with people trying to pick people up and kids darting in between them. When you're kindergarten, first, second grade, you're done with school, you're running out of there, and, we got kids walking. What we'd like to see is, we think that by doing this and putting the buses back down on the south side, that people will use the north exit, because there are controlled crosswalks and controlled intersections there, that there are stop signs and places for the kids to safely, cross, and that would give them, almost 2 whole blocks for the parents to park right there along the curb, where their kids could get in on the passenger side of the vehicle and safely get in the vehicle without having to go into traffic. So that's kind of where we're at. We've tried to have police presence there. And, as soon as they see a squad car anywhere there, obviously everybody, is driving straight up. Everybody's got seatbelts on. It's not an issue for about 3 or 4 days after that. But once we stop and we watch from afar, it's back to the same old stuff again. And it gets pretty crazy. And Mr. Popian actually has tried to help us and police it, and he had his foot run over at one point. So it's getting to the point where we have to do something.
I think it makes sense. It's a good idea.
I agree.
I always thought that was really awkward, the way that
Yeah.
street runs through there,
It is.
because I don't think a lot of people know you go around on one side and then it's just basically one way on the other, right?
Right,
The
yeah,
way it's
and
designed.
theoretically, it's not anything, it's just a parking lot, so they could go any which way that they want to, and it's unenforceable. We're just trying to herd the sheep the right direction and get it to work out, but right now, it's so confusing. Winter happens, we get snow, all the diagonal lines where that middle parking is, you don't even know that it even exists, so you'll have whoever starts it off the day pretty much leads the line for everybody else, and we've had it to where you can barely even pass through. And that's also another concern as far as fire and ambulance. If we have to get there, having all those cars blocking the street like that can be a huge problem too. So we're brainstorming quite often and trying to find the right way. I know it's not going to be 100% perfect, but it's got to be better than what we have.
So would you look at some sort of physical barrier between the two-way and the parking lot, just to kind of indicate?
Yeah, I think what we talked about is definitely having some signage, basically just saying, staff and visitor parking only. You're always going to have the 1 or 2 people that just don't care, but yeah, we're going to do the best that we can in that. And I kind of talked to Travis a little bit about having staff make sure we leave after everybody else unless they have to go up to the school, so nobody's driving through that parking area at that time, and just kind of keep the school stop zone for kids to get picked up. And because it's just hectic. It looks like, somebody let the lid off a jar of ants, and everybody's just running wherever they can go. And
Well, thanks for your work with that, and thanks for the schools working with you together. That's an important process. Last agenda item, other than adjournment, is a consent agenda from Brian Engelman for liquor license transfer, February 22nd. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, February 26th. We have a lot on our plate, again, more budget items, public hearings, so we invite people to be with us or to watch at this point. I'd entertain a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Moved by John. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the city council's adjourned. Jen, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, and it's a very important meeting. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye.